Hello, I'm Tamar Yoseloff, and I'd like to congratulate Diana Cant on the publication of her first book of poems, Student Bodies 1968, published by Clayhanger Press, an imprint started by her fellow poet Roger Bloor. I was delighted to contribute these words of endorsement for the back cover. Diana Cant's stunning sequence recalling a doomed romance is set against the backdrop of the Potteries during the heady days of late 60s student revolution. The poems are clear-eyed and unsentimental, but also tinged with sadness for what has passed, not just between the two idealistic lovers, but in a place which has lost its purpose, its identity. Cant's poems are redemptive and lyrical, as she finds beauty in what is flawed, damaged people in a gritty landscape, emerging with a greater understanding of her place in the world. There is an enormous sense of hope and life in Diana's poems, which is just what we need in these strange times. I recommend this book to you.
Welcome to the Clayhanger Press launch of Diana Cant's brilliant pamphlet, Student Bodies 1968. Clayhanger Press is a small independent press based in North Staffordshire and focuses on poems by North Staffordshire poets or poems about North Staffordshire. And Diana's series of poems is key to that idea. It focuses very much on the area, the industry and the culture of the times, 1968, at Keele University, which is a mile or so away from the majority of the locations of Diana's poems. It's been a pleasure to work with Diana on this pamphlet, and I want to thank all those people who've already bought a copy. And if you've not bought a copy, then there are still some available on our website, which is clayhangerpress.co.uk. Diana's going to have a small introduction to the pamphlet to set the scene, and then read a selection of her poems. Diana Cant.
I want to welcome you to the virtual launch of my pamphlet, Student Bodies 1968. We had initially planned live in the flesh, all singing, all dancing launch, but unfortunately, of course, circumstances have overtaken us. We may have something later when things have hopefully returned to something a little more normal. But at least for the time being, we hope this may be a gesture towards a launch. So I'm going to first of all say something about this sequence of poems, and then I'm going to say some thank yous, and then I'm going to read the poems. So this sequence of poems is written about a troubled student relationship. It was written in a time, and they're very much a series of poems that are about time and place. The time was 1968, a time of student revolution, a time of hopefulness about change, hoping that we might be able to effect change for the better. The place is North Staffordshire, the pottery industry of North Staffordshire, which was very much in decline by then, and the landscape was very much one of industrial decay and dereliction. So there is, I think, a prefiguring of landscape and relationship, which I've tried to use in the poems. There is recent research to show that memories that you lay down in your late teens, early 20s often survive with a degree of vividness that later memories do not. It's a time of real remembering. And certainly when I came to write these poems decades later, that was my sense, that I found myself rediscovering details that I thought I had forgotten. So they have lived internally with a vividness that surprises me. Of course, they do also speak to the issue of student mental health, as much an issue then as it is now. So those are the poems. In saying thank you, I want to first and foremost thank my publisher, Roger Bloor of Clayhanger Press. Roger has been a delight as a publisher and editor, patient, thorough, calm and thoughtful, made the process enormously easy for me, for which I am very grateful indeed. Clayhanger Press is a small independent press that aims to publish the work of North Staffordshire poets or poems written about North Staffordshire. And so, as such, is an enormously worthwhile enterprise. So I would urge those of you who haven't to consider buying this pamphlet, not on my account, but really to promote local work, the work of local poets. This sequence of poems was written as part of my portfolio for the MA in Writing Poetry, run jointly by the Poetry School in London and Newcastle University. So I want to thank my tutors on that course, in particular my personal tutor, Tamar Yoseloff, and also Glyn Maxwell. And I also want to thank fellow students who have all been very encouraging, and particularly friends Judith and Vanessa. I want to mention two friends from university days, still friends today, Maggie and Sue, who bore witness to this time. I want to thank friends and family, but especially I want to thank my husband John for his cheerful fortitude and unfailing support through some very difficult personal circumstances of his own. So that's it really, as they say. I'm going to now read some poems and I hope you enjoy them. Thank you. Student Bodies, 1968. Newborn raw, we know each other. Our skins peel easily as we expose the geology of our bodies. Contour lines converge as fingers follow rift valleys, climb through cloud forests, shudder on the foothills of our vulnerabilities. We travel with uncertainty. We are not grown. At times, we lay aside the landscape of our bodies to find a life outside. The air is rich with revolution. We take this seriously. We organize meetings, protests, sit-ins, discuss our tactics earnestly. We eat, we go to lectures, we meet friends, but mostly we descend to the towns and towpaths that weave this place together. The mines, the pit heads, the canals are our other landscape. We walk. We walk for miles, hours, a wished-for lifetime. A whole history is ours. Stoke-on-Trent. Back to back to back, the houses line up, boarded up and waiting, blind, war-wounded, dry-scarred and scabbed. The canal shrugs past, grudging, miserly. The sky spits. We are wading through decay. Then, pink and white and candy-striped, a market square alive with crockery, willow-patterned seconds up for grabs, tossed and caught, the hawker's trick, stacked on blankets on the cobblestones, headscarfed housewives with gimlet stare and sharpened wit are having none of it, as mouths and purses close to steal the deal. On the stalls, thick brown bowls, casseroles, and half a mile of plates. the blue and white of Wedgwood's love affair with China, all slightly spoiled, a pattern smudged, a colour run, something out of True. I am naive in love and easily seduced. A coffee pot, all pink and white and posing. You hate it. Evidence of bourgeois taste. But I bargain, proudly bear it back, display it on the desk, where it sits, embarrassed and unused. Cheddleton Mill. We walk the winding road to the river, a mill forgotten in the undergrowth as blackbirds spike their warning. The mill race overgrown, sodden with reed and water hyacinth, the old mill wheel rotting beside the crumbling wall, spinning pictures of its working past, the corn crushed, the flour bagged. Duckweed drips from the paddles as we find a door that lets us in. All is emptiness, the millstone still, the floor unswept, the chaff of ages undisturbed. Propped in a far corner, an Irish knobkerry carved from blackthorn, hard as nails, an elegant simplicity. We take it with us, feeling the heft of its weighted head, stroking the smoothness of its shaft, feeling the delicacy, the danger of its balance. Burslem. It's a fine day if you can see across the street, the women of Burslem used to say on firing day, the bottle kilns belching acrid smoke, turning the air and washing grey. Long since gone cold, their curving shapes crowd together like giant soot-stained beehives, commanding the streets, touching the small sky. The canal is lumpen and sluggish with detritus, pram wheels, a bicycle frame, and an old oil drum, the flotsam of an age not quite jettisoned, mournful and melancholy. We have walked the towpath up from Stoke, seen the peeling paintwork from the factory signs, Middleport, Newport, Etruria, they who proudly put bone into bone china, piled the saggers high with plates. Purple loosestrife lines the banks, and gashed and gaping windows watch the path. I don't remember what we said. Little, I imagine. Sadness seeps where words should be. Tunstall. The sky is closing over you. You are breathless, airless, fearful. Unschooled, we do what we know, we walk. Blue, peeling beautiful, the iron gates are padlocked now. Buddleia on the roof line, tileless and open to the sky. Even the drain pipes were sky blue then. We follow the canal, blood red, iron rich, barely moving. No towpath, but a glooming tunnel mouth, impassable. Stopped in our tracks. On our way home, decay dogs us, black padding at our heels. Butterton. It is summer, and I am recovering. Up in the dales, we students are picking lettuces and strawberries planted by an eccentric academic. We weed while he expatiates. Imagine this lettuce is the Zulu chief, and this the British Army. His pyjamas show beneath his trousers, while his half-trained collie dances to her own idea of Commonwealth disputes. You would have laughed at this. Politics for the middle classes, you would have said dismissively. It is hot and sunny, and the lettuces grow well. After days of weeding, 2 of us, the only women, are dispatched to kitchen duties. We clean the filthy farmhouse, scrub the wooden floors, wash mud-encrusted towels and hang them out to dry. We put flowers in the Georgian silver teapot, make sandwiches for the ravening hordes. We delight in creating order, sunlight in the place of grime and benign neglect. We make space to rest, propped against the sweet-smelling midden heap, pitchforks in our hands, doing nothing but imbibing sun and tasting time. I kept the small bowl that we bought together. Some records and of course your letters, wrapped them in the green sweater that still smells of you. Such small reminders of a life. I packed your books, your clothes, your essays in the battered trunk and sent it to your parents. And they were grateful, wanted me to visit them, to remember you. Be certain I have not forgotten. Here are strawberries and my love, never fully ripened by a carefree sun.